guys, welcome to the book review of the week, and today we'll be doing this book, little book right here, Managing Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. This is a great book for anyone. It was only 50 pages. You could read it in a day. I haven't read. It was a holiday weekend, so I spent a lot of time with family and friends. I didn't really read, so I decided to take that up again. I've listened to the audiobook before, but this time I decided to actually read it because of something he says in the book. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what I'll be talking about in Managing Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. So, as you see there, we are going to go a quick rundown. I'm going to, of course, read some parts of the book to you. So it begins by asking you, what are your strengths? Because Peter F. Drucker believes that you should just improve on your strengths. Just like concentrate and know what your strengths are, improving them, and overcoming like ignorance in terms of your strengths, not knowing what you are good at. So when it came to that chapter, he talks about like areas of low competence and how like we waste time. If you're in your job, in your business, you waste time building upon something that probably, instead of going from mediocre to mastery, you're going from just like plain old, crap to mediocre. Why not go the other way where you can get mastery and get more value out of that? Because you were mediocre at something, you became an expert in it because you concentrated on it. And that's what he means by going on your strengths, and that's why he talks about that. So I'm going to just read this part about low confidence, where he says, one should waste as little effort as possible on improving areas of low competence. It takes far more energy and work to improve from incompetence to mediocrity than it takes to improve from first-rate performance to excellence. And yet, most people, especially most teachers and most organizations, concentrate on making incompetent performers into mediocre ones. Energy, resources, and time should go instead to making a competent person into a star performer. Awesome stuff there. Then on the next part of the book, he goes into, are you a reader or listener? Now, before I read this book, I didn't even know that you should know that. And he says that you should definitely find out which one are you. He gives two examples. He gives the president, Dwight Eisenhower. So at one point they held President Eisenhower, who was the president, in an open contempt. So I guess it was an open discussion, no written. And apparently he never addressed their questions. They did complain, and he rambled on endlessly about other things. He was not a listener. He couldn't listen. And I completely agree with that, because in school I would never be able to listen. I had to actually either read the textbooks. I had to have a professor or teacher that wrote on the board a lot. That helped me, because I would read what they were saying. I would kind of make my own personal notes. So then there's the opposite side to it, who people that are a listener, like Lyndon Johnson. He was a listener. And apparently John Kennedy was also a reader, and he had a brilliant group of writers who would write his speeches. So he was amazing up there whenever he had to speak to the country or wherever he was. And Lyndon Johnson kept doing the same thing, but he didn't make it sound good because he never really understood what they wrote. Because why? He was a listener. He worked more in listening to people and then answering versus reading off of something. So that's just two. You should figure out exactly if you're a reader or a listener. It's hard to be both, probably possible, but pretty tough. Then on the next thing, he goes into, how do you learn? So I like what he says here. I want to read off of it. Schools everywhere are organized on the assumption that there is only one right way to learn, and that it is the same way for everybody. But to be forced to learn the way school teachers the school teaches is sheer hell for students who learn differently. Indeed, there are probably half a dozen different ways to learn. Then he gives you an example about Beethoven. Apparently, Beethoven was asked how, like, he always had these enormous number of sketchbooks and he never did anything with these sketchbooks. And they asked him why. He's like, if I don't write it down immediately, I forget it right away. If I put it into a sketchbook, I never forget it, I never have to look it up again. Some people learn by doing, others learn by hearing themselves talk. So I learn by doing, and even though I'm doing this because I'm talking to you, I don't really have to watch this video again because I'm talking to you. It's like regurgitating it to myself. So I'm doing something that's helping me too. And then he goes into asking if you are a team worker versus an individual worker and what kind of relationships you need in that sense. So a lot of people work well in teams, so they work in like a startup company, you have to have a team. Everywhere you really have to have a team, but like something I do, something like Tim Ferriss does, and all these like knowledge, like entrepreneurs, what they teach you by speaking or writing a book or whatever the case may be, are more of like loner workers. Yes, they have a team, but they have a team that's not there. They have a team, they send a quick email like, I need this to XYZ done, let me know if you need anything, and they just kind of like, they're like off of it. Versus people that want to be in a team where they have like, they're always together in a circle and they have to like talk to each other. So that was good. See, like he says here, a great many people perform best as advisors but cannot take the burden and pressure of making the decision. A good many other people, by contrast, need an advisor to force themselves to think. Then they can make decisions and act on them with speed, self-confidence, and courage. You got that. Then he goes into what are your values and to do the mirror test. So it's like, what kind of person you want to see in the morning. I love this part, because I kind of went through that with my last job working at a big cell phone company. I wasn't with their values. Like they made it sound real nice, but then I looked beyond it and I was like, you're just selling things to people and they don't really need that stuff. You're kind of making it as if they need it. And my values is I'm a minimalist. There's certain things I use. I don't need internet on a tablet everywhere I go. I'm not trying to be connected all the time. Some people, I guess, like that, but in our age, it's good to be disconnected as much as possible. But it's like an ethics thing, and like people have left jobs because they just do not find their values and the company values match. And that's what you need to do in a big company. And he talks about this like for pages upon pages, and it's great. I just highlighted one part where he says organizations, like people, have values. To be effective in an organization, a person's values must be compatible with the organization's values. Just like I said, you have to believe in their mission. And then he goes into a part where it's like, where do you belong? And just a quick thing, it's just like most people know what they want to do when they're young, if it's very logical, whether that's mathematicians, musicians, and cooks, he says. By the time they're 4 or 5 years old, they know. Physicians usually decide on their careers in their teens, if not earlier. But most people, especially highly gifted people, do not really know where they belong until they are well past their mid-20s. So if you're still in the process of not knowing what you're going to do in your life and you're 22, 23 years old in your early 20s, it's okay. It will come. Just keep trying new stuff all the time. Keep trying new stuff. Stick with it. That's just a little caveat from me. Then he goes into like responsibility for relationships and how managing yourself requires taking responsibility for relationships. So it's like being a manager. The first is to accept the fact that other people are as much individuals as you are. They perversely insist on behaving like human beings. This means that they too have their own strengths. They too have their ways of getting things done. They too have their values. To be effective, therefore, you have to know the strengths, the performance modes, and the values of your coworkers. This sounds obvious, but few people pay attention to it. So that's like a big part of it. He also says communication, of course, is everything. You want to know what your people want, what they want to do within their job. Don't just, like most corporations, just be like, you have to learn this, and it's like you're probably not good at it. Remember, low competence. Don't build on that. Build on their strengths. What are they really good at? Tell them to keep doing that and keep going. So then he talks about developing a parallel career, because like doing something for 20 years, it's really it takes away a lot. You start losing your like the good feelings doing it. You could do something like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like a lot of people like think back like down on him, but I mean, this man did bodybuilding, acting, and he even had a third career in politics. That's insane. But he did all that and he was relatively successful. So that's another thing, developing a parallel career. And I just want to end with this quote from the book. He says, wherever there is success, there has to be failure. So as always, stay awesome, and I'll see you in next week's book review or tomorrow's relationship video.